All right. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to class today. We are going to start a new topic. Start talking about activity 1.1.3, which is gears, which is right down below where we just continued, or we just finished up, I should say, with the simple machines device construction. So we're going to take a look at a little PowerPoint here. I'm going to roll through this. Some of this I will tell you I am going to skip. Some of it we don't need to discuss necessarily in a lot of detail. Some of it is good information here for us to have when we start talking about gears, pulley drives, and sprockets. Okay, so let's start looking at these. These three powertrain elements transfer energy through rotary motion. So they can change the speed. So when you change the different gears and different sizes, you are going to change the speed. You're also going to change the direction of rotation. So for example, if you use idler gears and things like that, that will change the direction of the gears, which we will talk about here in a moment. And then also change the amount of torque available to do the work. A gear train is a mechanism used for transmitting rotary motion and torque through interlocking teeth. So most of you guys have seen a gear on something at some point in your life. If you open like a CD-ROM on a computer or something like that, you will notice that it will have some sort of gears in there. A gear train is basically made when two or more gears are meshed together. So when their teeth are interlocked and then line up, that is basically a gear train. The driver gear causes the motion. So whatever gear is on the input, so is the one you start cranking or the one that starts with the power, that is the one that causes the motion. And then the motion is transferred to the driven gear, or sometimes called the output gear. So those could be called any of those, and those would also be acceptable to be called that. Mating gears always turn in opposite directions. An idler gear allows the driver and driven gears to rotate in the same direction. So if you have two gears like this here in the picture, they are going to turn in the opposite direction. Now, if I put this idler gear, which is the center gear down here, right in between the two outer gears, these two blue ones are going to turn in the same direction now because of that idler gear. Okay, mating gears always have the same size teeth, diametric pitch. All right. So there's just some good information there about the idler gears. That's good to know. The RPM of the larger gear is always slower than the RPM of the smaller gear, the revolutions per minute. Okay, so that's kind of obvious when you think about that. It takes the bigger gear a longer time to make that full circle or to get all the way around. Gears locked together on the same shaft will always turn in the same direction at the same RPM. Okay. So just some good information. Variables to know here. This is some good stuff. N for the number of teeth. So basically there will be times where you guys might have to count the number of teeth so that we can get the ratio. The D is the diameter. The W is the angular velocity or the speed. And the T obviously is the torque. All right. So if we look here on the first one down here, this will give you some information and examples of exactly what this diagram up here is looking at. Okay, so obviously the ones in the red are going to take a look at the red gear. The ones in the blue are going to take a look at the blue gear. You are going to have to do some measuring. For example, the diameter of the output gear is 4 inches. Basically, you get that number from right here. The diameter of the smaller gear is 2 inches. You get that right there. You get revolutions per minute. Obviously, that number is giving to you. So anyways, you get some good information there. And obviously, then the number of teeth, you can count those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Obviously, it's the same as what it says here. So just giving you kind of some information and some variables that you would need to know to calculate these problems. All right. So here's how they lay it out. It's just the same as the first slide. It's basically number of teeth in, number of teeth out, and the diameter out, diameter in, etc. And you just go through the calculations. Pretty self-explanatory on this one. Pretty easy. As long as you keep everything consistent, you will be fine. Okay. What is the gear ratio between gears A and B? Okay. So it looks like we have gear A, gear B, and it looks like we have 12 over 20. Okay, 12 over 20, which equals a 0.6 over 1. Okay, so basically you're just doing a little bit of division here, so no big difficulty there. That should be pretty self-explanatory. Just confirming this is the case. I'm doing it on my phone right now to make sure. Yes, that is exactly it. It is 0.6 over 1. Just confirm they were correct, because what I found on some of this is they are not always correct. So we want to make sure that we're double checking all this work. What is the gear ratio between gears B and C? As you can see here, B is going to be 12 teeth, and then C is going to be 5 teeth. Again, you're just doing the simple division there, and so on. So we won't talk any more about that. That's pretty self-explanatory. Okay. Let's see here. We're going to skip just a little bit of this, because some of this is not very important at the present time. So let's just go ahead and skip down to, I think we'll start on slide 17 again here. And on slide 17 here, I kind of looked ahead, and it's kind of a little funny the way they did this, unless there's some sort of animation I'm not seeing. But really, we have to look at slide 18 first to see how this compound gear is basically set up. So it looks to me like the yellow gear will be sharing the shaft with the blue gear, which by looking at this diagram, it would be hard to tell that. So we want to take a look at this second image. And it says, what is the gear ratio between gears C and D? All right. So number of teeth out, which would be 50 for the red gear or gear D. And number of teeth in would be 20 for the blue one or C. And if we do our simple division on there, it would be 2.5 over 1. Okay, what is the entire gear ratio for the entire gear train? Okay, but first we have to look at what is the gear ratio between gears A and B. Okay, so we have to do that problem. Obviously, it's the same deal. It's 40 over 10. Divide that out, it's 4 over 1. All right. So what is the gear ratio for the entire system? It's 4 over 1 times 2.5 over 1, and you should get 10 over 1. All right. That should be what you'd get for that one right there. Okay, and then lastly here, belt and pulley systems. Here are the equations for that. Remember, D is diameter, W is the angular velocity or the speed, and T is the torque. Diameter out over diameter in, speed in over speed out equals torque out over torque in. Diameter out would be 6 inches. Diameter in would be 2 inches. So we'd have 6 inches over 2 inches. RPM would be 30 RPM over 10 RPM. Okay, notice those are flip-flopped. Die out over equals torque in, or sorry, excuse me, angular velocity in. Then equals torque out would be 55 foot-pounds, and then it would be 18 1/3 foot-pounds. Okay, so again, you're just pulling data from there, and we could do some calculations when we do these as far as the diameter of our gears, or our diameter of our pulleys. Sorry, excuse me. Sprocket and chain systems, kind of pretty much the same situation. It's the same formula you have there, so I'm not going to really necessarily go over that. That is exactly the same. Comparing pulleys and sprockets, method of transmitting force. So a pulley typically uses a belt, whereas a sprocket, like you'd have on your bike, uses a chain. Advantages to a pulley is they're quiet, no lubrication needed, and they're inexpensive. You will see if you open up the car hood on your parents' car or your car, you will see a lot of pulleys in there. You see serpentine belts and things like that. Obviously, you've never probably saw them go out and lube those. So that's one advantage to those, and that's why they use them. Whereas a sprocket advantage is no slip, greater strength. So the problem with pulleys is as the belts start wearing out, there is a common thing for slippage. I'm not saying it never happens with a sprocket. It says no slip, but if certain things get wore out on a chain, they can happen. You've probably been on a bicycle before where maybe the chain has slipped just a little bit and engaged, and I know they're saying no slip, but I know it happens. So that's something that you need to think about. Disadvantages, like I said, the pulley can slip. In a sprocket, the disadvantages is it's higher cost and needs lubrication. Whenever you're using a sprocket, typically they're metal on metal. for a lot of this stuff, and they have to have lubrication. If you do not have lubrication, some sort of grease, some sort of like a WD-40 or something like that, that metal will start wearing over time. So it does need lubrication in there. Okay. All right. So that's just kind of a rough, quick rundown of this PowerPoint with gears, pulley drives, and sprockets. You will be completing some of these builds in class. So we'll probably be tearing down our other builds. I was going to start tracking some data from that, but the more I look at it, that lesson is really choppy from Project Lead the Way. So I think we're going to just call that quits on that. You guys did the calculations, you did the build, so I think we're good with that. So we're looking kind of to move ahead and start looking at some different things here. So if you have any questions about this, let me know. I think the biggest thing on the formulas for us to do is just be consistent. Make sure we take our time. You have this PowerPoint to refer back to anytime you'd like it. It is a great help because it does break down the variables that you would need to know. If you want, I could write these on the board if that help you. However you want me to do it, I'm willing to help, okay? So students in class online will be watching this video today, and then we'll be working on the document so that we can kind of complete the build. And some people in class will start building today versus students at home will be working on the worksheet. So I just thought the video today would be the best thing to do since it gets tough for me to kind of work with the students in class and then come back to the computer and things like that. So kind of you can work through your own pace today and go through it that way, okay? So you'll get the assignment when I'm talking to you through Zoom today, and I'll let you know what you guys at home will be doing, okay? If you were already at school, you already built, so you'll know what you'll be doing at home. All right? Any questions? Let me know.